Hello, my name is Riley Lowe, and this is my presentation for integrating literacy and content instruction for English learners. And to begin, teaching in both literacy and content instruction is so important, doing that together, because once students hit third grade, they begin to read to learn. So all that explicit phonics, decoding, fluency, all that instruction is now left behind, so that students can begin to read to learn the content. And so for English learners, they may not have those foundational literacy skills. And so when they get into those higher grades, they need to be able to get that instruction together, because they need those literacy skills for the future, and they also will need the content as they progress. And so it's incredibly important that these can be done together. And so this presentation will outline best practices for this integration. I'll provide some resources and strategies, and then um, an example lesson plan with all of this together. And so to begin, some resources to use in the classroom. These were all chosen because they are multimodal resources. So information is presented hands on, um, through video, speaking, writing, reading, which makes it super engaging for students when the things are different like that, and also very beneficial because they take content and literacy at the same time. And so the first one is National Geographic. This is great for science, and I think they have some social studies too. Provides simulations, articles, and lesson plans for content instruction. Newsella is social studies, and so this provides research-based lesson plans, but also real articles, news articles that are just scaled down for a elementary level, which is fantastic because that's great content instruction, super interesting, while also getting that literacy with reading and comprehension. And then documentaries literally can be used for any subject, builds the speaking and listening skills, while also being really engaging. It's like a movie, but more informational. Students love it. YouTube is very similar to that. And then Quill is a writing resource that can be applied to any content area. And then for print slash multimedia, first one is anchor charts, which support literacy, vocabulary, just visually. Students can look at it and read it and see it with photos, and it's really beneficial. I've had students copy down the anchor chart that I'm creating in their notes as well to commit it to memory. Graphic organizers help guide students through different content areas. Graphic organizers can be used for pretty much anything. And then songs, there are songs for everything, and it's so good to commit to memory. People get songs stuck in their heads all the time. Um, so you can do it for the 50 states, the continents, math equations, science songs, so many different things. And so one way this can be applied in the real classroom, here's an example. Um, Imagine you're teaching a sixth grade science lesson and about tides, and you want to use one of these resources, the National Geographic article. There's cause and effect um, tides. And so teachers can use this as students are going through their reading. They're seeing cause and effect, which is another standard. All the vocabulary is front loaded, which is good for scaffolding. And there are lots of diagrams and photos to go along with it to scaffold as well. And so I actually use this resource to create a scaffolded lesson plan, using these content standards, all standards. The content standard is about how eclipses, moon phases, and tides occur within the sun, moon, earth system. Literacy standard is citing textual evidence in informational text, as well as creating inferences. And then the ELP standard is construct meaning from oral presentations, and literacy in informational text. And so all these are paired together. Here are the objectives. Students will be able to explain tides and how they occur in the system. This would be like a day 1 or 2 content objective out of a unit. Literacy objective, students will be able to cite 3 pieces of text evidence supporting the cause and effect of tides. And then the language objective is students will be able to use evidence to support their claims on a cause and effect flowchart. And that objective is in the ELP standards, actually. This is one objective within that standard that I showed in the previous one. So for an introductory activity, the lesson is going to begin with an I notice, I wonder. The teacher, I included the video here, will play a video of a tide throughout the day, and the students are going to write one thing they notice in the video and one question they have. And then they'll talk with their table groups, and then the teacher will provide sentence frames, as I've shown here. And this introductory activity is great because one, it's low stakes. Students are writing, but it's like they're not turning it in, it's not summative. It gets students interested in the topic through the video, and they're like, oh, I wonder what causes this. Why does it do this? It's fires up their critical thinking skills, and then it's scaffolded. They're able to use a sentence frames, but they're also talking with their table groups, building those speaking and listening skills, the writing, building those writing skills. So this is a great introductory activities, and these strategies can be applied to other lessons as well. So for the first main activity, the teacher will first begin by explicitly teaching the vocabulary, what is tides, and the two main types of tides, which are neap tides and spring tides. And the class will create hand motions to remember these vocabulary words, which is so fun because it's so when students do things with their body, it's a lot easier for them to commit it to memory. And then they're not having to write or do anything like that either, but it's very easy, very accessible. Then the teacher will show diagrams of the position of the moon and sun and to the earth, and that is found in the National Geographic article actually. And then the teacher can, if they would like to, can get a globe and then two balls, one representing the moon and one representing the sun, and change those as well along with the diagrams. Student or the teacher can give students balls to do this themselves too, so that they can practice, and it can be a group activity, very hands-on, really great for introducing the content. And then the second main activity is with a partner. The students are going to read through the National Geographic article about the tides, and they will read it out loud back and forth to each other. This out loud reading is incredibly great for building those literacy skills, those reading skills. Um, and this also fulfills the literacy standards. So students will fill out a cause and effect flowchart, including text evidence for their claims on that flowchart. And so this supports all the standards all together, and it's hands-on, it's fun. Students will do it with partners, building those literacy skills. And then for the formative assessments, there'll be lots of discussions, lots of questioning. And during those discussions, the teacher's job is to walk around and listen to those conversations, see what students know, what students are getting. And then the cause and effect flowchart can be used for formative or summative as well. Students can see how, or the teacher can see how the students are grasping the literacy standard with the text evidence and the cause and effect, and writing. And then for summative, at the end of the lesson, this is kind of main activity 3. The students will make a poster describing one of the tide diagrams from the lesson, and they will draw a representation of how it affects the tide, and they can use the article and the diagrams to make this. So this is scaffolded, and it's also not something that the students are writing all about. Instead, they can draw pictures, which is a lot more accessible. Um, and so going on to individualized instruction and assessment, here is one profile of an English learner. Um, their needs, that language proficiency, she's pre-emergent, she understands some classroom vocab and simple phrases, but struggles with reading and writing. So the student needs help building foundational literacy skills and oral language skills, and some strategies for that is explicit vocabulary instruction. This will allow the student to explicitly understand more academic vocabulary, and continue to build that vocabulary. Also, multimodal learning, hands-on, videos, pictures, oral discussions will provide a comprehensive way so that the student can understand what is being taught and what is happening in the classroom. And then lots of discussions to practice oral language skills. Also, discussions are low stakes when students are talking with other students. It's a lot easier and a lot less scary for them. And then for assessments, they may need to be done orally at first if the students' writing skills are pretty low, but then that can progress over time. For Emilio, an intermediate student, the student can communicate in full sentences, understands directions, but still developing that academic vocabulary and comprehension. And so the student needs support for their academic language, reading fluency, and writing paragraphs. And so graphic organizers are a great way to build those paragraph writing skills, along with explicit instruction in academic vocabulary, will also improve those writing skills by including that vocabulary into their writing. And then it says the student struggling with reading fluency. So lots of reading practice, choral reading together as a class, or echo reading where the teacher reads and the class reads, is really helpful for modeling as well. And then the last one is Alondra, who's an advanced student, speaks fluently in social settings and understands grade level content, but struggles with abstract and figurative language. And so the needs are to strengthen academic vocabulary along with essay and report writing. And so, again, all three of them would benefit from explicit instruction in academic vocabulary. And then the student needs more practice in descriptive and academic writing. So, graphic organizers will help as well, just guide the student through, like, what does an essay look like? How many paragraphs does it have? What do you need in each paragraph? And then again, classroom discussions. In these classroom discussions, it'd be good for the teacher to encourage a student, hey, in this discussion, use this vocabulary word in order to strengthen that academic vocabulary, or use a metaphor or a simile to describe this in your discussion, to continue building on that figurative language. And then the student would benefit from being assessed orally or honestly with written responses to build that ability. Um, and so, how could these strategies be applied? Explicit vocabulary instruction is great for the beginning of a lesson because it front loads it. Students are getting background knowledge, getting interested in what they're going to be reading or doing. And this can be done through hand motions, or I've seen the FRAIR model, which are posters, class presentations, tons of way to engagingly teach explicit vocabulary. Then modeling is key. All three of those students and all English learners greatly benefit from modeling. And so the teacher can do that by I do, we do, you do. So first the teacher will model it, then the teacher will model it as the students are following along. Then the student can use those models to do it themselves. And so if this can be done for anything, math equations, how to make an inference, anything. And then reading comprehension, using graphic organizers are great for reading comprehension. And then writing, graphic organizers are fantastic for literally anything. And then why is this even important? Because students have individual needs, and those needs need to be met for them to succeed academically. And all students are worthy. They're part of the Imago Dei. They deserve a solid education, and us as educators, when we learn new skills and learn how to do these things, we can serve them best. And then when students grow and progress and they see that and they get told that, it's so encouraging. It builds so much confidence. They get excited about learning. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. And then they want to continue learning. And so, just to conclude, it is essential for English learners to receive content and language instruction. They should not miss out on content instruction just because they're English learners. They need that both at the same time. And as we've seen, this can and should be done simultaneously. Yes, it's a lot of work to prepare a thematic lesson that covers so many things, but it can be done and it should be done. And in all honesty, sometimes it makes it more engaging for the students when all parts of their brain, their critical thinking skills, are all being hit at the same time. Um, and then another very important point, instruction should be scaffolded. There should be multiple access points. There should be multiple, teachers should build those foundational skills before they go up. It allows all students to take part in education and the content. And then the last one is, as I kind of mentioned in the previous slide, instruction needs to meet student needs. Strategies chosen should not be random. Just like as we saw with the student profiles, the strategies that were chosen were based on the needs that were seen in the classroom. They should be specifically tailored to meet student needs, and they should be research-based. And this is all incredibly, incredibly important for solid instruction. Here are some references that I used, and thank you so much for joining me.